Hello, my name's Neil and I work as part of the services team within Cancer Fund for Children. So within our charity we support children and young people impacted by cancer. And for those of you who have been impacted by cancer, you know only too well some of the challenges. One challenge that we think many people face and the experience that we have had is that of fear. Fear is one of the strongest emotions that we can feel. Every one of us can relate to it, but to fully understand it. And I suppose in this short video what we really want to do is talk about it a wee bit more, look to see how it impacts us, and also, and most importantly, is how we can help reduce it and how we can help cope with it a wee bit better. When we hear the word fear, we may automatically assume that it's a weakness or it's always unwanted, but the reality is fear is much more complex than that. So fear is our vital response to physical and emotional danger. So if we think of our earliest ancestors, if they didn't have fear, they wouldn't be able to protect themselves against dangers that came along, which sometimes were about life or death. The truth is, we don't live in those times anymore, but there are still times where that instant, powerful emotional response are required. So let's take, for example, you're about to be hit by a car. Well, you need to be making a split-second decision to get out of its way. So fear in that instance will save your life and your body's response to it. We'll call this our fight and flight response. Some may even call it the fight, flight and freeze response. So within the brain, you have a wee thing called your amygdala. Your amygdala is like your brain's watchdog. So when it senses danger, it kicks into survival mode and it sends the body into a fight, flight or freeze response. So just for example, either run from the situation, hide from the situation, or to fight it. Because we're so quickly in that survival mode, our brain isn't making full use of itself. So we're not making full sense of the situation and we're not able to analyse it. So it's an immediate unconscious response. Now, that's great when you're faced with a real present danger, but because the brain sometimes can't distinguish between whether it's a real danger, it can also be imaginary. So for example, something that may happen in the future, or there's something under my bed, or a fear that I might have developed. So to try and make sense of this, let's try and break it down. Have you ever been asked something so simple, and you should know the answer, like your name, but you're not able to give it? Have you ever been in a situation where a brother and sister to play a prank on you, jumped out on you, and out of sheer response you've hit them, not meaning to? Or have you ever get into an argument and said something that very quickly later you've regretted? So in the heat of the moment you've said something and then you've regretted it. That's you operating from your survival. So you're not making full access to your brain, you're not thinking rationally, and you're saying you do things that you probably wouldn't do ordinarily. The brain is so smart that when it senses fear, it sends signals to your body, and that's when you get these physical responses. Now for you, they may be different. For me, I know exactly how I feel, and these are some of the ones that people say that they feel. So sometimes you have trembling in your stomach. Some people feel like they're sweating a wee bit and shaking. You get the knobbly knees. Some people feel like they're frozen to the spot. Other people feel their hands trembling. Other people feel like maybe feeling a wee bit of nausea or whatever. It's the body's response. So in many ways, sometimes it's like getting rid of a lot of fluid. So the body's so smart that what it's doing is making you lighter, because you may need to run away. Now this isn't just true for us as humans, this is also true for animals. So how weird is that? So let's take for example a horse. Horses are well known as flight animals, which means when they sense danger, how they respond is they run away from it. They take flight and go. Just so happens that they're pretty quick, so it helps. So if you see a horse in a field standing all day long, 10 to 12 hours, eating with their head down, you may think, well, they're probably full by now. But no, their bodies are designed specifically never to be full, which means when danger comes along, they're still light enough to take flight and go. So we know fear is our body's response to danger. So in many ways it's about action. It's about protecting us and keeping us safe. But what if it does the opposite? So what if it causes inaction? So let's take for example, because of fear, you don't leave your house, you don't take medical procedures, you struggle to sleep, you don't like to speak in public, you don't like to go to school. So now it's doing the opposite. So that's when we have a bit of a difficulty and a bit of an issue. And what if your brain's operating there all of the time? And it's not meant to. So we're not meant to be there in long periods of time, and we're not meant to feel like that all of the time. So if we're feeling like this quite a lot and for quite long periods of time, then of course it can have an impact on us, and it can make us feel sick. And it may even feel like it's never going to get better. But listen, the good news is it can, because there's so many different wee things that can be done, and that's why we're here to talk. So let's talk about some of those ideas. The good news is there's many things that each of us can do to try and reduce the amount of fear we have, and also try and overcome it. I suppose the first step is saying that try not to avoid it is the first step. trying to think about a wee bit more clearly what is the fear that's happening for you. So have you talked to somebody about it? Have you written it down? Have you spent the time actually just thinking about what that is? Because by doing so, then you better recognise, what is this fear, what is it doing to me, and what's the impact of that? So at least that's a good starting point.
When I was in the hospital, and for a while after, I was afraid of lots of things. I remember especially I was afraid of medical procedures. I would shake uncontrollably and I'd be really tense all of a sudden. To manage that, I'd look for someone to help me by reminding me to breathe or to just talk to me. Over time, I got better at dealing with it because part of my fear was not knowing what was going on. So the more I did it, the more I knew about it, and the less scared I was. Sometimes it's just a case of perseverance and knowing when to ask for help.
So now what we want to do is spend a bit of time talking about things that you can do, some exercises, and some of these are specific to young people, but equally anybody can use them, and I'm sure you have your own. So the first one I want to talk about is what's in your control and what's out of your control. So we'll have a short exercise available to download you can access on our website, but essentially this exercise is very, very simple. It's around looking at where are the areas of your life where you have control, and so it's in the middle of the circle, and starting to think about some of those. So the things that you do and the things that you say, and outside of the circle of things that you maybe don't have control or influence over or power over, which are other people's actions and the things that other people say. So it's an exercise that you can do, and hopefully by the end what you'll find is you may be spending a lot of energy and a lot of time on things that you have no power and control over, and less time then on the things that you do have power and control over. So it's about trying to rebalance that, and it can really, really help in bringing some control back in your life. So exercise 2 is the 7-11 exercise, and again it's there to be downloaded. And it's a breathing exercise. So every one of us can do it. It's very simple, but actually its benefits can't be underestimated. So when you're feeling anxious, worried, or you're under high stress, actually getting your breathing under control is probably the most important thing you can do, and it takes 2 to 3 minutes. So what it is breathing in for 7 through your nose for 7 seconds, and breathing out as you count to 11. Do that for 2 to 3 minutes, and what it's doing is through your blood sending more oxygen around your body to your brain and your vital organs, lowering your heart rate and making you better able to analyse situations. So it can be a really helpful technique. Again, you don't have to just do it in those situations you're feeling anxious or worried. You can do it way beforehand. You can do it daily, because actually what it helps you do in the long run is being able to regulate your breathing more easily. So exercise 3, again there to be downloaded, is called the worry script. So this is a bit more challenging maybe than the other exercises, because actually what it involves is really thinking about the fear that you're experiencing, or a number of fears that you're thinking. Probably ask you to do it one at a time, which is helpful. So it's called a worry script. All you need is pen and paper and a wee bit of time. You don't have your phone sitting beside you or a load of gadgets. So it requires you every single day over a week or so, or a couple of weeks, to think about something that's really playing in your mind, that you're really worried about, that's causing a lot of fear, and you're right about it. So what it's actually doing is getting you to really think about it and getting into the detail of it, and possibly thinking about the worst case scenario. So you might think that that's a bit strange, and you might think that maybe causes more upset. And I suppose yes, it will do initially, but the idea behind it is to get to know what it is that you're experiencing, what you're feeling, so that you better understand it, and actually doing it over that period of time helps actually reduce the amount of fear that you have towards it. It also gets you to start thinking about the solutions, and it's not this monster, it actually becomes smaller in your mind. So the last exercise I just want to mention is that of maybe keeping a gratitude journal, and it doesn't even have to be a journal. So you would have seen in one of our earlier videos that Laura covered was the whole area of gratitude and keeping that. So those resources are there, and again still on our website, and you can access them. But the benefit of gratitude in relation to the whole issue of fear is that it requires you maybe in a few minutes, even just at night time, to think about the things that you're grateful for, the things that are going well or that are positive in your life. Because what it slowly does over time is it gets you to focus on those things rather than the things that you're worried about or fearful of. And even if you're only doing that 5 minutes a day, well, it's 5 minutes you're not worrying. So there's benefit in it no matter what, and there's certainly nothing that can be lost with it. So that's a really good exercise. And lastly, I suppose I would say, in the work that we do, we get people connected. So we get children and young people connected through group work, we get families connected through our short stays at Daisy Lodge. And the benefit in that is actually coming together to talk about issues that people have in common, and they may be issues around fear. Then there's commonality in that, and there's a sense that you're not alone in feeling those things, and equally that there's an opportunity to find solutions and there's find ways that help different people. That can't be underestimated. So within this short video, I suppose what we've tried to do is explore fear, what it does to your body, and also suggest some ideas that you may be able to try yourself. Equally, you may have lots of other ideas, or you can read about others, or we can certainly help in supporting that. So if fear is about action, then let's take action. As a charity, we are certainly here to support any child or young person, young adult or family who are struggling with fear or any other issue as an impact of their cancer. So we help in many different ways. We help through our group work, through our individual support, and through our short breaks at Daisy Lodge. If you would like help and support, please contact us, services at cancerfundforchildren.com. Many thanks.